it's me. All right. Welcome back to All the Nerds, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We have a really special guest. Christmas came early, everybody, because we have the one and only North Pole correspondent, Star Wars Santa. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to talk to you guys today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so for our viewers in the future, because we've been struggling with intros, we will just open every show now with that wheel, and whatever the wheel lands, that person's just gotta go. And so
just gotta.
If you were on the live from Wednesday, thanks for going on. But yeah, that intro was tough. So
it was a bit tough. So
this way.
The wheel has been invented.
Yeah, we invented
We've reinvented the wheel.
Right,
they said it couldn't be done. But Santa, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell people what you're all about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Star Wars Santa, and we have a Discord group. You can find the Discord through the YouTube channel, and we
link it too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we talk about Star Wars on a regular basis, news and updates, any kind of information coming out, speculation, and then we do some toy reviews from time to time as well. And then, of course, a lot of people have seen me from Nerd Theory, part of that Nerd Theory Council, and I appear on there from time to time. So just love talking about Star Wars and trying to bring some positivity to the discussion. And even when there are things that I'm frustrated with, maybe not it's not to rant on it, it's to just have discussions about those things. So that's my channel. That's what we do.
So in that vein, what made you want to start making content?
Oh, that's a great question. So I after The Last Jedi, I was a big fan of The Force Awakens. I think most people were. And then there was a little bit of fallback after that. But then The Last Jedi came out and I saw the fandom just kind of explode. And I didn't understand what was driving it. And so I started searching out different internet resources, which drove me to YouTube kind of quickly. And through watching and joining different YouTube communities, came to the conclusion that maybe my voice could be another one. And to be honest, it was Josh Lucas at the Den of Nerds. He called me and we were talking one day, and he really encouraged me and gave me the push, said, we need your voice out there. We need somebody with your perspective in the community. Just go ahead and start, do something, and we'll see where it goes. So here I am. It all started from that.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm glad he did, because I mean, your channel, I've seen a couple of your videos, hopped onto a couple of your streams, and it's a real fun, positive, uplifting place to be. So I'm really glad that your voice is getting out there, and you're starting to get a lot of exposure, I think. So it's really awesome to have you out there.
Yeah, just kind of blew up overnight. And then huge thanks to Star Wars Theory for allowing me to come into Nerd Theory. And I felt like we had a really good discussion and that we made a positive connection. And from that, everything else has rolled. But we had been working on the channel for some time before that. And now it's just taken off. It really is. Thanks.
Well, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've told this to Santa off airs, but I'll say it for those who watch this. Like, for me personally, Santa has been a big inspiration for not only this channel, but just our whole philosophy in general, right? Because Santa, and I'm sure we'll get to the question of, but he's been in the Star Wars fandom for a little bit longer than the three of us. And it's reassuring to see someone who has seen it all, so to speak, and is still able to maintain our, I think I can assuage the fear that maybe our mission isn't just youthful optimism, that we can still maintain our, our positive goal all the way through. And it's really inspiring. So thank you, Santa.
Yeah, and that's in that same vein. I'm very curious on this. So what is your first Star Wars memory, or your first Star Wars?
So I was born in 1967. So the summer of my 10th birthday was 1977. And my first theater memory of any kind of theater experience came from watching Star Wars. And of course, that was before it was labeled A New Hope Episode 4. It was just Star Wars. And I remember going into the theater. It was a big deal that summer. Everybody was going to see it, and long lines and all that. And my birthday's in the middle of summer, so we went for my 10th birthday. I got to see that, and I remember the Tandem 4 coming across, followed by that Star Destroyer, and it just kept coming and kept coming and kept, like, the size and scale of it was mind blowing. The technology at the time, the cinematography of it just blew me away. And that was my very first memory of seeing any movie, and my first Star Wars memory as well.
That's amazing. Wow.
It was great.
I can't imagine being there at the original Star Wars. That's crazy.
It really changed things. Science
Yeah.
fiction up to that point, and the theatrical experiences at that point, especially in sci-fi and space, were kind of cheesy. You would see what were obvious models, or you would see things that were just stop motion things that were very, very obvious. And the way that they did the miniatures and the filming for it was revolutionary. It changed things overnight, and it took a long time for other people to catch up. So that's why it was so impactful at the time. You may look at it today and you kind of pick out, like, it doesn't quite stand up to some of the modern special effects, but it still stands up. And for
It
being
does. It somehow does. Yeah.
it really does. It really
Right.
does. I mean, you can watch the Tauntauns and see that stop motion and all of that, but still yet it holds up. And for its age, it's still amazing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, especially in New Hope, which was far from my first Star Wars experience, but the first time I saw it, like, it's something different. It really is. Like, you get a certain charm with all the kinks and all the now outdated, but then was revolutionary. And I mean, I personally, I love, like, the models and the figures that they use, the practical effects. And even today, it's just so fantastic to see.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm doing my math correctly, you would have been 13 when Empire came out, and then 16 when Jedi came out.
That's right.
So,
Prime time.
so if I may ask, how did your fandom for Star Wars during the original trilogy progress? Because like by Jedi, when you were 16, where you're like, Ewoks, get this out of here. Or when was it like that? Or because I've heard those stories from people.
A little bit. So at 16, the Ewoks weren't my favorite, right? But and it was the movie, though, stands up. It's just that the Ewoks, I was like, come on, right? That's little carpet bears. They look like short people wearing carpets. It was bad, and I didn't like it. And then right after that, of course, there was all the news and information from that they were originally supposed to be Wookiees. And it's like, I can imagine seeing a whole bunch of Chewbacca's out there. It would have looked a lot better than the little carpet bears. And then we would have had a much more epic movie. But so there was some frustration about the Ewoks. And then, of course, right after that came the Ewok cartoons and the movies. And I just personally wasn't interested. I wasn't the right age group to consume those. I've watched some of them now on Disney Plus, and it's like, okay, I can appreciate them for what they were, but I was definitely not an Ewok fan during that time period. And then, of course, there was a long gap before we got the Phantom Menace, and in that time frame, we warmed up to them. And of course, then we got the revised versions, right? We got the special editions.
Linking Ewoks.
Yeah, but I was like, hey, what happened to that song? Right? Like, well, wait a second, that's not the song. And so my frustration today even goes back to, now I can't get from Lucasfilm, I can't purchase or view those theatrical releases that I had when I was 10 to 16 years old, right? When I was growing up, those things influenced my life tremendously. And I can't purchase those. I can't stream them. I can't watch them. And so I hold a bit of a grudge against George for not giving it to us Oh, I'd love to get that. Now I know you can go get Hermes, and there's all kinds of other folks that have it, and I still hold out hope that one day Lucasfilm will go ahead and release those theatrical versions.
I believe the last time they were released would be I think it was around Revenge of the Sith came out, and they did the special edition DVDs, and you can in those like sets. I'm looking at them. I have them. There is there's a disc with the sort of despecialized version. So if you really want to get them and you have a DVD player, you can still get them.
Yeah.
But it's tough. Like it's tough. And that was already 16, 17 years ago now, and that was the last time anyone put anything out about those original versions. So yeah,
That's
I wish.
Yeah.
Well,
so maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah.
So Santa, A New Hope may have been your first Star Wars experience, but in your long time as a Star Wars fan, what's been your favorite definitive Star Wars experience?
Well, the experience has to still be New Hope.
Yeah.
As far as the
That's
story itself
fair.
goes, Empire is my favorite. The Empire Strikes Back is my number one. And to be honest, as far as just like watching all the theatrical movies, New Hope still for me is the second, and it's probably mostly from that experience and nostalgia that keep it there for me. I just can't remove those from my childhood. I can't remove it from my developmental years and the experiences I had. So those two are still number one and two, and then of course Return of the Jedi. So the original trilogy to me is still the number one. But so yeah, experience, it has to be A New Hope. Just the mind-blowing nature of it.
Yeah, well, what was like? I wonder, like, I'm curious, like, do you remember like what the theater was like? What was kind of the response like going, like everybody walking out of the theater? Was that just like, whoa? Like,
I don't have firm memories of that. Again, I was 10.
yeah,
And I'm slightly past my teen years now, so
Just slightly.
it's hard for me to remember exactly. I remember coming out and being excited, but I don't remember the audience reactions at all. Yeah,
I assume that they were like yours. So
yeah,
It's so interesting. It's so interesting you say that about the original trilogy being like the closest to your heart, because that's so true, and it's so close to so many people's hearts. But the way just we as fans interact with Star Wars is really dependent upon our own childhood experiences, and almost separate from the quality of the movies. Because there's a lot of people now who are like, it's the prequels who are the closest to their hearts. And like for me, like New Hope is towards the bottom of my own personal list, despite like what I see in it as a movie, which is it's a phenomenal movie. But like I've explained this before, like I love everything that's come out of that world, because I wasn't there when it started, but I experienced everything, the prequels and everything that came out of that wonderful, creation of A New Hope. And so it's so interesting to listen to someone who's there. And like, I also just find it fascinating the way we connect to these things, and how Star Wars is always just constantly changing for each different generation. I think that's really something special.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what it's like. I mean, in the next few years, I guess, even that too, but just with all the stuff we're getting next year and partly this year,
Oh,
So,
sure.
yeah.
And I've had this kind of discussion with my own children. So I've got two girls. One's almost 30. The other just turned 20. And she had, my 20-year-old is more of a Star Wars fan. The 30-year-old is a fan, but the 20-year-old is much more. And she says, honestly, Dad, I don't understand why the original trilogy is your favorite. The prequels are way better. And I'm like, well, beg to differ, but okay.
Yeah.
But I just understand that for her, they were more current, right? So she doesn't have that nostalgic opinion. But now that the sequels have come out, the sequels are her favorite trilogy. And I understand that, because those were the formative ones. Like, she watched the other ones growing up on DVD. I had those, and we watched them frequently, or you'd watch them on replays on like the Turner Network or whatever. But the sequels, she was able to go to those movies with me, and we experienced them firsthand together. And so for her, that's going to hold a nostalgic place for her. Understandably, she got to see those movies with her dad at the theater during those years she was growing up. And it's perfect, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really is.
that's an interesting point there, because like I say, like The Last Jedi, one of my least favorite Star Wars movies, but going into that is my favorite Star Wars experience, I think. Like it, so my favorite Star Wars experience is surrounded by the movie that I really don't like all that much. So that is an interesting take that I never really considered why that was.
It's just it's an interesting thing with the Star Wars franchise where there is almost no objective quality of any of these products, and it is totally divorced from how most people judge, you know, film and cinema. Like it is just the Star Wars it's totally dependent on the fan, and I think that's really special.
Yeah.
It's true,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
true.
yeah, this is a really good point. People have criticized George Lucas's writing, right?
Mhm.
Easy dialogue, like really awkward stuff. And there's great quotes like from Harrison Ford and stuff back during the original trilogy where Harrison Ford says, "I want to lock George Lucas in a room and make him read his own
Read
dialogue."
his-
Like,
yeah.
can he hear it? Like, but so it's not great. But the story, the characters, that's what people connect to. And of course, it always goes back to like that hero's journey. But I think even more than that, it's the mythology of it, and it's the characters. You fall in love with the characters, and that's why it's hard to replace them. You go back to Solo, it doesn't feel like Han Solo because it's not Harrison Ford. It's the same with Indiana Jones. Young Indiana Jones didn't feel like Indiana Jones because it's not Harrison Ford. Those actors personify the characters, and then when the actor changes, it doesn't feel the same. So
Right.
that was super, super cool about the end of Mandalorian season 3. There was Luke Skywalker.
Season
The
two,
actual
yeah.
Skywalker, and it was super exciting. Like a lot of people thought maybe Sebastian Stan would come in, and maybe we'll
They
get
still
him.
will, yeah.
I was
You
one of
know,
I was one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that we will get Sebastian Stan. But now we've had that nice bridge. You know,
Mhm.
you had that experience of DH Mark Hamill, and you see his name in the credits. That's wonderful. It's super awesome.
Yeah.
But now maybe going forward, we'll get another actor to play the character, and we can continue to follow that story.
Yeah, that
That's
was
so
a cherry. That was a cherry on top. Seeing Mark Hamill's name at the end of the credits. That was awesome. So
Yeah, it was.
the great moment. That was
Johnny,
probably one
I
of my
was
favorite experiences
I
too.
was rewatching your reaction the other day, and the whole
Yeah.
time you're going, "It's Sebastian Stan, it's
Yeah.
Sebastian
I know.
Stan."
Yeah,
It's so
that
great.
that was one of the videos that did pretty well on our channel. Was my reaction to the finale. But oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
what a great
It's
experience.
interesting you say that about specifically Solo Santa and the way
Yeah.
these characters are.
Yeah.
And like, because for me, Alden Ehrenreich totally embodies Han Solo, and is like just because for me in that movie, he's not trying to copy Harrison Ford, but he is embodying the character of Han Solo, and that's why I love about it so much. That I think these characters, and going forward, and like we see in the Mandalorian, I'm hoping that we can get more stories with our favorite characters, and this is totally a personal preference because
Yeah.
I think these characters are so like their convictions and the themes that surround them are what make them what they are, and not necessarily the actor. And like specifically on Solo, you having Lawrence
Right.
Kasdan write it, and like obviously Lawrence Kasdan is infused into the DNA of the character of Han Solo. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me personally, this is my own personal interjection, but like I really want more Solo with Alden Ehrenreich. So that's
Oh,
just
me
me.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of the movie, I was buying it. But you'll see a lot of folks who just like, that's not
Yeah.
Han Solo. But
Yeah.
if you watch the movie and you let it, just let it affect you. By the end, I thought the last scenes right after he talks to Kira and he goes back, he looked like Han Solo. I was fully bought in. That's Han Solo. And Alden did a great job. I hope that they continue on. Part of that, I always like the make Solo 2 happen.
Yeah.
I always
That-
like those
Yeah.
tweets.
Well, the Lando series seems to be maybe a continuation on the story a little bit. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know where we're gonna go with that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and I would like to see him continue with the other sides of it as well. I would love to see more of Kira's story,
Yeah.
and of course Maul, the Crimson
Mhm.
Dawn, all of that. So I'm really hopeful that we get some of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting with Solo talking about like it's one of the I think the tragedies of the film not doing well is you're 100% right. By the end of the movie, you are seeing the Han we meet at the beginning of A New Hope, or you're starting to see that.
Yeah.
Because the movie is like about how this kid, this young someone's almost similar to Luke in the hero's journey, it can be turned into someone who's more jaded with the world. But I enjoy that Solo showed us that Han really truly always did have that good heart, and that at the end of A New Hope, you see it. When he comes back and he's yeehaw kid, and go for it. That's shots 1 in a million, and like that's the same Han Solo, and I love then seeing later in his life he sort of is a combination of the two, where he's both fun and jaded, and I don't know. I loved what Solo did for the character personally, but
yeah, it's fun. It's funny because I agree with you, Santa. I am one of the people who's kind of reluctant on Solo still. We Levi and I, well, us three, we've been meaning to rewatch it because I haven't seen it in a while. But
one of my favorites. I love it.
One of
Yeah, I
Levi's
love
favorites,
Solo, man.
and
I really like
I'm
Solo.
still like, it was fun. It's a fun movie, but yeah, it gets a little hard for me to kind of put past me, like, oh, that's on Solo, that's
Right. Well,
better.
Alden especially works for me because it's a time jump. It's like a time gap. And it's like maybe people's faces and the way they look doesn't change that much, but it is believable in the sense that like he's not trying to be Han Solo. He's trying to be Han Solo before he became Han Solo. And so
It's
it
become a Solo discussion.
there
Right.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
we're gonna get a Solo discussion.
We kind of went sideways, but it kind of encapsulates the franchise as a whole, and where we're headed with the live action series. And I think we're moving away from those saga movies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where you had the trilogies, I think Solo and Rogue One, both as standalones, we'll see more of that kind of storytelling with the live action series, and that allows characters more time to develop. It allows stories more time to develop, and allows fans to kind of cozy up to them and get really engaged with those stories, and kind of lose sight of all of these little nitpicky things that folks get.
You raised a good point, and I posed this question in our last interview, and so I'll ask it to you. Do you think by the time Rogue Squadron comes around, we'll be able to adapt back to a movie, a 2-hour movie? Because I feel like we'll be so spoiled with these long narratives of television, and you get so much content. Like Andor will have come out, and that's 12 episodes. That's so much Star
Bad
Wars.
Batch is 14, maybe more.
And it's like, will we as Star Wars fans be
but
just satisfied with a movie going forward? Like, can we go back?
I think there'll have to be events. So one that I've been speculating on is we know that the Ahsoka series is coming, and we know that they're doing Rangers of the New Republic, and both of those are telling the story of Rebels after, right? It's that search for Ezra Bridger. That's essentially what those are, and through those, they'll culminate in an event where they find Ezra and Thrawn. That can be a movie, right? So once they come together, then you end up with a movie event of the what happens, and then after that, you can have more series. So I think the same with like Rogue Squadron. If those will build up to it, then that story, or it becomes an introduction that then spins off into a series. But yeah, I don't think people are going to be satisfied with like
just a movie.
Yeah, just a movie or a trilogy. And I think that's one of the problems we see even with the sequel trilogy is it didn't have enough time. People keep saying things like, well, Finn's story wasn't adequately developed. We didn't get enough of Finn, or we didn't get enough of Poe. Or what happened to Rose Tico? She just got abandoned. We didn't get enough of Rey's story. We don't. Her arc is too thin. Well, you can't increase all of those without increasing the time exponentially. So you're limited on time in those three movies, and as it is, the return of, or the rise of Skywalker seems frenetic to many people. It runs way too quickly. So there's just not enough time to tell the story in a more drawn out fashion. So I do think that we're probably done with seeing a story told through a trilogy of movies. That's probably not going to happen. We'll get stories told through series, and then maybe an event happens in a movie.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I've heard a lot of discussion about like, oh, is this quote unquote Filoni verse going to lead to some kind of big movie event? Well, it's interesting because I have heard rumors again of apparently Dawson has signed on for some movies eventually down the line. So I don't know if that'll be something like we were just talking about, like some kind of Filoniverse event that kind of just combines all the shows. We got Book of Boba Fett, like you said, Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, Mando, all this stuff. It's gonna be interesting. So I'm a little, I don't know how I feel about it because I don't know if they'd do that. Yeah, I wonder if they would cap it off with a movie. I would surely like that, but I just wonder if they'll just keep it to a series since they know the series are working. So
We'll see.
interesting. Yeah, we'll see.
I do hope the sequel trilogy actors return for a show at some point. Or
Oh,
maybe
me too.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
I
definitely.
would like a Clone Wars type show for the sequels. I think that would really work. Like some kind of maybe in between, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, maybe.
Maybe. I mean,
That
you
could
know,
be sweet.
I am interested in seeing a post
Post.
Rise of
A post, yeah.
Skywalker series.
I want to see
And-
Finn become a Jedi.
Yeah,
Yes,
me
that's
too.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to see Finn become a Jedi, and I think there's a lot of room for them to be finding Force sensitives in different places who are in some sort of turmoil, and they go there to help settle the turmoil and help with that Force sensitive. And maybe we move away from the idea of a Jedi order where they take the kids away and raise them in a Jedi temple, but rather they mentor, coach, and bring them alongside without pulling them away from their home. And that'd be interesting just to see what they might do in a post Rise situation. I'd love to see more Rey. I'd love to see more Finn, and then the other spinoffs with Poe and Rose and the additional cast that we've seen. You know, maybe get more Claude. Who knows?
The Claude
Well,
show.
there was that rumor
Claude,
of
a Star Wars
something with Ben Solo in the future. I don't know. I guess there hasn't been reports on that for a long time, but
No.
I don't know if
And
think
then
Ben
I
Sol-
think it'd be. I do think they're thinking about there's the Rise of Kylo Ren comic book series.
Mhm.
There may be something that predates that with a younger Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker. So maybe Sebastian Stan and a 10, 11, 12-year-old actor cast as Ben Solo.
I would love to see an animated series about.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
I mean, Mark
time.
Hamill is
I
a
think
voice
that's
actor.
what
You
they
know,
could do,
he would definitely come on to that. And
Yeah, I've always thought that I'd like to see a post Return of the Jedi with as an animated series with
Yeah.
the original trio. So you got Leia and Han and Luke is an animated series because of course we don't have Carrie with us anymore, and I don't know that you're going to get Harrison Ford to do
voice, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
or to do
Like,
live action, right? I just don't
Right.
see them doing that. And
He's
to
doing
do,
Indiana Jones 5, which is interesting. So
yeah, but
that's
it's
one
different,
thing.
different era, right? Much older.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you go back to just post Return of the Jedi, they're younger.
Mhm.
And so I just don't see that happening. And so I would love to see that as an animated series. And of course, Mark Hamill is the voice actor.
Right.
Luke Skywalker is perfect. Absolutely.
And we know that, from the movies themselves, that at least Lando and Luke had a bit of an escapade and some adventures throughout the galaxy.
Yes.
So
It's true. Yep.
I think there is a potential for some kind of Luke-centric series. I mean, that can go down so many routes, but I also think it's
Definitely.
interesting because I mean, like, I think we'll see him in Mando season 3. They're filming right now, so I wonder if they'll do the face tech again, or they'll just have someone like Sebastian Stan come in. It's interesting. I don't know kind of what their thoughts on that.
That's the only thing with the CGI Luke, and I thought it looked pretty good. But if they do want to use Sebastian Stan, they could have eased us in there, and then sort of.
I disagree because I think it was. I think having it Mando having that just be such an emotional moment, I think it would have been a little bit disingenuous with Sebastian Stan. I think it was to cap off Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
Sure.
So that's
we
kinda
say
why
that,
I'm
but
feeling.
if it was Sebastian Stan, we would have all loved it too.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Well, it just doesn't give me as much hope for Sebastian Stan playing Luke in the future. The fact that they didn't cast him there, but I can also understand why.
I mean, I think that they can't. They're not going to do that face tech forever. So I mean, like, even
Right.
though it's obviously the
Too
technology is
expensive.
obviously improving and it's too expensive. Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah.
it looked good in the episode, in my opinion. Like,
wasn't
for the most part,
perfect.
but
He
it
probably
wasn't
had a time commitment with Falcon and Winter Soldier. You know,
That's
maybe
true.
that too.
there's
Yeah.
probably a
Yeah.
lot going on in Sebastian Stan's life.
I mean, this has been a conversation for like years, like about
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan, like being like he looks so much like Mark Hamill. So it's an interesting thing. I think Disney is definitely aware of it. So
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that, as we mentioned before, I think having Mark Hamill's name in the credits,
Yeah.
right, as that
Special.
closes,
That was big. Yeah.
is huge. And the de-aging technology, he didn't look quite right. They did a great job, but it's just a little awkward. And I think you're much better to go with a Sebastian Stan type, or just recast it. If they can't get Sebastian Stan, somebody else, and just move forward like they did with Alden. Alden embodied Han Solo just fine once you kind of get used to it. And I think the same thing could happen now with Luke Skywalker. Now that we've had that moment with Mark Hamill. You've been able to see it. Now we could cast somebody else and move forward. I think that's the right way to go.
I think it's almost inevitable that we will see something, because that 30-year gap in between episode 6 and 7 is so rich for storytelling potential.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
It's
untapped.
starting to be explored now. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
because of
speaking
Mando
of-
and all the spin-offs.
And speaking of which, you understand, there's a lot of stuff coming up. What are you most excited for in the sort of
Oh, boy.
slate of-
Well, there's a couple things. I'm really anxious to hear what Lucasfilm comes out with on Tuesday and announces.
Yeah,
There's
it's 3
gonna
days
be
from
very
now or whatever.
exciting. I know.
Right.
We got
Soon.
it's literally
Crazy.
right around the corner. I cannot
There's
wait.
so much potential, and there's so many rumors.
Mhm.
And I would hope that maybe we'll get some confirmation of some rumors and solidify them. And if it's true, my most anticipated would be the follow-up to Rebels, the search for Ezra Bridger, that might take place across multiple series. So we already know that Ahsoka, we'll probably get Ahsoka and Sabine Wren. I'm anxious to see live action Sabine Wren. That can be super awesome. That I am like super excited about it, but we don't have any firm dates on it. So I'm hoping we get maybe some firm dates on that series, get some updates about where that is. The Rangers of the New Republic, Harrison Dola, and the Ghost Crew. I'm really excited about that. In the
Live action Hera. It's just so exciting. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, can't wait. And then if Kessel Run Transmissions is right, there is a rumored third series that's Ezra and Thrawn live action series. So you got those three angles of simultaneous what was going on, and to see those three series culminate in a well, just to be able to see them and then how they culminate. And I think it'd be a movie. So that's where my biggest excitement is. I'm really excited for the Bad Batch to be starting. That's going to be great. Visions
Great,
is
Visions.
starting to
So much potential with that too.
But all of everything that we know. So if you look at Visions, the Book of Boba Fett, and Mando season 3, those are the ones that we know that are coming. Mando season 3's got me most excited.
Okay. Out of all the projects, that's your most excited.
Well, just of those 3.
Oh, okay, I see.
There's other projects out there.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot.
they're kind of further out, or they're kind of not locked down, or
Right.
on a.
I mean, I don't know. I think by this time next year, we will have seen Obi-Wan Kenobi already.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah, I hope so.
Wait, May? You think we'll see Kenobi?
Well, let me break it down for you.
Sure.
I think we go Book of Boba. I think we go into Andor, right? Because Andor's been filming since like last year. Like Andor's going to be done. Andor's going to be done. That show's going to come out. Then Obi-Wan, and then they're filming Mando season 3 now. They just started, right? Kessel Run just dropped that. And then you go from Obi-Wan into Mando, and then from Mando, then by that time, Ahsoka is probably, you will have already started the production, been done, and then Acolyte, and then Rangers of the New Republic.
I think your schedule's off just a little bit. I agree with you, on principle. I think we're going to go Book of Boba Fett, and if they're
straight into Mando.
Straight into
Yeah,
Mando.
I think it's straight into Mando. Yeah, I do.
And
too.
that'll end in like end of February, middle of March. And then we could drop straight into Obi-Wan this time.
And then Andor later.
and and Andor later.
Okay.
But I
Interesting.
don't know.
However, I think it's gonna be Book of Boba Fett, Mando season 3, Andor, and I think Kenobi will be closer to Celebration. And then I think what else do we have? That Ahsoka's 2022, right? Yeah.
Just
So
with
that-
Andor and Kenobi, they announced those shows so long ago. They've
Right.
been working on them for so long. Like I remember that, that investor call with Bob Iger or whatever, like late 2018, where it was like, yeah, there's a Cassian show, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Well,
It
I
was
mean,
like-
you got to think about it. I mean, like Book of Boba Fett was officially announced at the end of season 2 of Mando, and that's coming first. So I'm
I
just
know.
Right.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah,
point.
it's all confusing. So I'm really hopeful that, and I mentioned this earlier. I'm really hopeful that Lucasfilm comes out and starts to put some stakes in the ground for
gives
us.
us a list, like a
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah.
That'd be
So.
great.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm hoping May 4th gives us,
Yeah.
like some real set dates, or at least like some more information on some of this
I'm
stuff.
excited for like
Some
the
trailers, maybe. I don't know.
the
yeah.
trailers, like some stills for upcoming projects, like a Kenobi still with McGregor would make me freak out, and I feel like we're
Yeah.
probably gonna get something with Kenobi. So
They
I hope
like
so.
showing you and McGregor at stuff. So.
yeah,
Santa, you mentioned a lot of what you were excited about connected to Rebels, and Rebels is one of the more recent animated shows. But before that, obviously, there was Clone Wars, and then the 2D Clone Wars, and then the animated holiday special, and the cartoons, the droids, and Ewoks. So after the prequels, and you've talked, the prequels didn't connect to you at the time.
Right.
Were you able to get into the Clone Wars, the animated show? Like, what's your relationship with that?
Okay, so that's an interesting story as well. I mean, you left Resistance out of the list, but that's
I did. I'm sorry.
Levi.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm the one who likes Resistance. I like Resistance more than you two
Yeah, that's
goobers.
true.
Okay,
That's true.
I've seen the show.
Yeah, me too. But I was hesitant on the Clone Wars. First of all, it was sort of a weird age for me. So I was raising kids, and I mentioned I've got my oldest daughter's turning 30. So I was busy at the time, and I didn't care for the prequels very much at all. And when it came out, I was like, oh, I don't, no thanks. But it took me a long time. I didn't actually watch the Clone Wars until they were up into season 6.
Oh, wow. It's on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and all the news about it, and the hype about it was big. So I went back and started watching it, and I had trouble with starting and stopping it. And then not until like the end of season 6, when there's talking about maybe coming back for season 7, that I actually just sat down and watched it. So I love the Clone Wars animated series. Absolutely adore it. I've watched it a couple times through now, and it's great, fantastic. I prefer it far more than the prequels themselves. So yeah. I love them.
I mean, there's such a nice compliment to the prequels too, because I mean, I grew up with the prequels and I love them. But the Clone Wars, after watching all the Clone Wars, and then you watch the movies back, like it just like does so much for every character involved, and it really is something fantastic.
It really is. It really is, and I absolutely adore it, and so much that Ahsoka is my very favorite character in all Star Wars.
Same here.
Across the entire franchise, I love Ahsoka, and I had no clue who she was until after season 6 had already been released. So
did you see the Clone Wars movie?
Yeah.
Theaters? Oh, you did?
No, I didn't watch it in the theater. I got it on.
Okay.
I got it on DVD at the time,
Mhm.
but so I've got that upstairs. But I don't have. I didn't watch it in the theater. I wasn't
Right.
going to. Again, I didn't like the prequels. So
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Levi. No, go ahead.
oh well, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to leave out Resistance viewers, all you Resistance fans. It slipped my
All
mind. 'cause
three of
he had-
hardcore
He had
Resistance.
mentioned Rebels, and so I went back chronologically from Rebels and tried to include everything. But yes, Resistance, 2 seasons. Check them out.
I only seen the first. So I have watched some.
The
I'll finish it.
it's no.
it's no Clone Wars.
Yeah,
but,
I'm aware of that.
maybe we'll stick on Clone Wars for a second. What's your favorite arc of Clone Wars?
Yes.
Oh, so it would be the end of season 5, the Ahsoka arc
Nice.
in the season 5, by far my favorite, followed by the end of season 7, and then season 6 is really strong, kind of across the board. But those are the Ahsoka, the end of season 5, that Ahsoka arc is
Great.
oh man,
Beautiful. Yeah, I
It's
love
awesome.
it
it.
is
It's
really
awesome.
good. Yeah, it is beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's heart wrenching, and it really gives you a great insight into the state of the Jedi Order at the time, just how jacked up they were. It makes you understand more about where Dooku was and why he left, and it's just. I think it gives so much context and depth to the Jedi Order, understanding the Jedi Order, and what a tool that Mace Windu was. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it in 7 too. But
Citizen.
also for
Season
Anakin's
7,
character too. I always thought that arc did a lot for him because I mean that's just another reason why he fell to the dark side.
Yeah.
That whole situation.
I would have loved if he just went with Ahsoka, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it also showed that he like has a deep care for her too, so that just kind of further solidified their relationship. So yeah.
It was awesome, so
was-
awesome.
And yeah, I mentioned that though in context to Rebels, and so you were watching Clone Wars later. Did you watch at least maybe the latter half of Rebels as it was coming out?
Yeah, I would. Well, so yeah, Rebels was coming out, and I wanted to start from the beginning, and I watched first half of the first season, and despised Ezra so much. Like,
I understand.
this is terrible.
It
Like,
was
oh
not
my
great.
gosh, I just what? No, it's all wrong. He's terrible, and I just couldn't get over it. And so it wasn't until I finished the Clone Wars and found out that I loved it so much, and we were in the gap between 6 and 7, of course, that I went back and caught Rebels. I forced myself through the first season. I still thought it was terrible, and then it starts to get much better. And by the time you get up into the Bendu and
Yeah.
the content, oh, now you got my attention.
Yeah, it's
And then
getting good.
and then you get Ahsoka back, really good, and it ends really strong. And I just recently went back and watched Rebels again. I still
Aged like a fine wine.
yeah, I don't like the first season. I still don't.
Yeah.
Oh well, never
Well,
mind.
Star Wars likes to do that, eh? Like you see
Yeah.
Ahsoka too. People really did not like her at first. Now she's yours, and she's a lot of people's favorite characters, or at least up there. And
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way about Ezra. At first, man, people were like, you got to watch Rebels, some of my friends, and I was like, I can't get past Ezra. But eventually, you start to see
you
where
see him
they're coming
mature.
from with it.
You see him
And
mature.
yeah, and I still don't love his character, but I think he works.
If you don't stay for Ezra, at least stay for Kanan
Kanan.
and
Exactly,
Hera
yeah.
and
Ahsoka.
Zeb and like
Yes, yeah,
Rest-
and I tried to do the same with Resistance, to be honest. But Kaz is just not. They went too far with him, and and they didn't bring him along. I thought in season 2 of Resistance they started to making better, but then they regressed, and I was like, ugh. So
That's when
I
they
think-
started to introduce Phasma and like kind
Yes.
of.
I enjoyed that stuff. The Phasma stuff is actually pretty cool. Like
Well,
when it
Phasma
ties in,
deserves more.
when Resistance tied into the larger narrative, it had
Yeah.
some really good stuff. But I
And
think Resistance. Oh, go ahead, Santa.
I'm a huge fan of Captain Cardinal from the
Yeah.
novel. And I was excited to see that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, let's get Captain
Maybe.
Cardinal in, let's get Phasma in, let's bring more of that kind of stuff in. And
I think we still could get that, but Resistance, I think, is the first project thus far that has suffered
that-
for maybe other audiences by being targeted at a certain other audience.
Kaz,
It's
I
true.
just, oof.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the animation style alone didn't do it for me really. I was never a
That's-
huge fan, and some people really like it, but I mean
There's
same
cool
goes with
concepts
Rebels,
in there,
sort of
though.
like
That part is a total preference thing.
That's true.
it's true. I'm just like
Well, it's funny because like I mean like when the Clone Wars first came out, people majority I think did not like the animation style. It was very
it aged well though. It all came
Yeah,
together. really.
George. I forget what was the movie that I've heard this quote before. George wanted to like kind of make it look like I think I could be wrong, like wooden puppets or something like that. He
That's
wanted to
correct.
kind of reference
Yeah,
it.
It's like they're meant to be like carved like wooden maquettes. Like
Yeah.
puppets.
So I like it though now. I mean, now I just think about like season 7 and even like into the Bad Batch. Like I just think of like how mind blowing it looks now. I mean,
Not
it's
to
still, I
go-
think it still looks
yeah.
good, but yeah.
Not to
back
go
then,
too deep into Resistance, but I did like the stuff with Tam, with Tamora, and
Yes.
the First Order. I enjoyed that stuff. I
Yeah,
thought that
and it gets a lot of criticism on the animation style, but if you look at the ships, the
it looked
space,
excellent.
some
Yeah.
of that stuff,
The
it
ship
is
looks awesome.
stunning. The stuff they do in space is gorgeous. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just the human faces. Well, all the character faces are sort of flat
Or Taylor.
and non-detailed, and it's kind of this weird, like the ships and the vessels are super detailed, and then the characters are like flat.
Very like block colors. Kind
However,
of
I think Resistance did provide me one of my favorite background characters of all time. Opipit, the little sweeper guy with his that guy is the best. I love that.
He's one of your favorites.
He is so funny, man. If you watch the whole show, the arc of his
I
character
haven't seen the whole show,
is
so
it's
I know you're
excellent.
talking about though.
It is. I agree with you.
That is some great stuff right there.
Maybe I'll have to finish it. I don't know.
Well,
It's
so
Go ahead,
Santa,
Dylan.
you've told us Ahsoka's your favorite character, but Star Wars is only as good as its background characters. And
they
do you
say.
Levi's told us his, but do you
Nice
have a
transition.
favorite like obscure character or like sort of, I don't know, character that just kind of is in the background?
Well, I have an unusual with the original trilogy. C-3PO was actually my favorite as a kid.
Sure.
And I had a C-3PO figure. I completely rubbed all the paint off of. So I played
Well,
with
that's like the prequel one then, because it was a kind of gray. Or what was the plastic?
Silver.
underneath?
DC-14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think about this. I hear Alex with Star Wars Explained ask the question all the time, but I don't know. I tend to go towards characters that people aren't, not the lead Jedi.
Underrated characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I love Thrawn. I love the new Thrawn, especially. Our
Rebels Thrawn is great too. Yeah.
He's okay. I love the
Oh,
novel.
yeah.
The novel was more of the Sherlock Holmes. I love the Sherlock Holmes version of Thrawn, and I don't think that that's necessarily everybody's favorite, but it's mine.
That first Thrawn novel is a real Sherlock Holmes book.
I have not
It's
read
great.
the Thrawn novel, but
It's great.
I do want to before.
I mentioned Captain Cardinal. Captain Cardinal, I really, really like, and nobody knows who he is either. But so
That Phasma book also underrated.
Oh my goodness, Captain Cardinal, and I was always wondering if you go into Galaxy's Edge and you find what's her name, Vi Marati,
Yeah.
and you ask her about Praxis, what will she say?
That's a great question. I bet they have, because they do such detailed stuff, and that person who's playing a character from the books already, I'm sure they have like a briefing.
You would have to know.
You'd have to know, yeah.
I mean, because Captain Cardinal having captured her and tortured her and all of that, and then the story after that, and it won't give away how.
Don't spoil it.
It goes, but she learns his identity as Praxis, and so I'd be curious. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know what Vi Marati says.
Yeah, I wonder if they go into that much detail.
I do have a friend that's been to Galaxy's Edge, and I asked him a question like that, and he's like, so he was talking to a stormtrooper, and he had the stormtrooper take a picture for him or something, and my friend who's big into Star Wars, he said, I'll upload it to the HoloNet, and this trooper didn't know what he was talking. He was like, what? Like, what are you talking? Like, he got a broke character. I was like, what's that? And so it's I mean, I'm sure for bigger characters like her, they would.
I think it definitely
give
depends
them
on the person.
Yeah, right. I don't think
that.
the stormtroopers.
Speaking of that, Santa, have you been to Galaxy's Edge?
I've not been to Galaxy's Edge. I was there when they were transitioning and starting to build it out. And it may have been before they landed on Galaxy's Edge, because it looked like Tatooine. I thought they were going to go with Tatooine, and there's stories that early it was going to be Tatooine. So they were kind of
remember the map. They had this whole map of the original plan with all like they had all different sections for all the planets. So
that was
the
fan
old
thing.
That's a fan thing.
That's a fan thing.
I thought
Oh.
that on the park it was going to be Tatooine,
Mhm.
and that's where you would go, and in the cantina and all that. And so they had already transformed just one building, and everything else was behind walls and curtains and things like that. And
Right.
so I was in that, and I assumed it was Tatooine. I
Mhm.
had no idea of anything called Galaxy's Edge. And I've been to Disney World a couple times during Star Wars days, and like got pictures with Chewie and with Jedi Mickey, and I've got a
That
really
Mickey
good
is
one.
canon.
I got a really good one with Kylo Ren, where I'm giving him the stink eye, side eye. Like
He's on your naughty list, right?
Oh
Yeah,
my
oh,
goodness!
he's
Yes.
getting cold.
Oh, so yeah, I've been down there for those character things, and they did a parade with Phasma through there with her troops. All that's fantastic, but no, I've not been there since Galaxy's Edge has opened.
Well, you've mentioned, in relation to Galaxy's Edge, Captain Cardinal, and Captain Cardinal is a pretty, deep book character. And so, obviously, I already know you read the books, but why don't you tell our audience, when did you start getting into like the expanded stuff? Because right, Star Wars for so long was just movies, but now it's so much more.
That's right. So there was the big period. So right after the Return of the Jedi, there was a lot of talk about Darth Vader and how he was created in a volcano and all this kind of stuff. There was this thing with him and Obi-Wan, and an accident happened, and so there was all this like fan information out there. And then the original Zahn trilogy came out, and I didn't catch it immediately. I caught it in paperback in a rerun later. So that was my first exposure to the written works, back to Heir of the Empire, way long time ago, before you guys were born. So that's about when I read those. And then
When did those come out? I'm trying to. Was that
1991, 92,
90s?
and 93. I'm pretty sure it was yearly.
yeah, right in that ballpark,
Okay.
early 90s. My oldest daughter was born in 91. So, it's
One,
just
two,
like,
four, maybe.
it was, yeah, I think 94.
94, I want to say was the
94 is
last one.
ringing a bell with me. But so it's in that time frame.
Mhm.
And I read them probably closer to just before 2000, 97, something like that. And
before
then,
Phantom Menace?
yeah, right
Yeah.
before Phantom Menace. And then some friends of mine said, "Oh, you need to read these books." And I read some real old ones. Went back thousands of years before the Jedi, back to the and I got to pull them up because I can't remember their names. But it was the Sith back before they were the Sith.
Oh, and like the Jedi and that stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. And so that was my second one. And then I just didn't read anything for a long time. Not a book reader. So
Neither am I. I'm trying to get into the books.
yeah. And so then when the Force Awakens came out, it kind of just put a shot of adrenaline in my fandom.
Yeah. There's a lot of books that came out.
Oh my goodness. And then I got hooked on audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I got a library card from the Columbus, Ohio Metropolitan Library. I've got my library card, and you can get those audiobooks for free. And so
Nice.
I started consuming them, like when I'm mowing the lawn or driving to work. I used to have a commute to work. It was an hour each way. So I was listening to audiobooks like it was, my life was dependent on it. Like I've gone through like 50 some of those, like just commuting back and forth.
Wow.
So
awesome.
yeah, most of the content is newer stuff that I've read because of the audiobooks, and it's harder to get the older legend material.
stuff. Yeah.
They're actually coming out with audiobooks for Legend stuff. Actually, just
okay.
this year, they're starting to go back and redo and have new
Perfect.
audiobooks for older stuff. Which is actually
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because we do have the re-release of Air even.
Yeah.
And
it's the
so
30th anniversary, I believe, this year.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
nice. I didn't
I'm
know
really
that.
excited to get Heir to the Empire. I listened to the interview that Timothy Zahn did on it, but yeah, those are the ones. The Lost Tribe of the Sith. Those are the books that I read, and those are from 2009.
John Jackson Miller, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are the ones that I read. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you've got to read these things." And gave me the whole series, and I read those. Those were a lot of fun. But then, yeah, I've gone through everything else that's current, and I've just started getting them on Kindle, so I can read them. Because getting them through the public library on audiobook, they're typically a month or two after the release.
Come out.
And I want to talk about them right away.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so the gist of your answer then is like The Force Awakens supercharged.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I think we talked about this maybe offline, the two of us. But when The Phantom Menace came out, I was super excited, and I loved that movie. And I went out and I bought the VHSs of them at the time, right? The DVDs.
You had 3, right? Didn't you? You have
I
3
bought like 3 versions of them.
Yeah.
But like the regular one, I bought a special edition one, and then I bought another one after that. Like I kept buying it, and then after that, we had the Attack of the Clones came out, and it killed it for me.
Oh man.
And all of the complaints that the Phantom Menace had that I was like defending, I was done.
Can't defend that one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm out. And then with Revenge of the Sith, I watched it and I'm still like it's Anakin, like the acting is so horrible. I can't take it. And the lines were just terrible. Now the action scenes were great, but I just didn't, I hated Anakin so much that I didn't care. Right. I was just like, okay.
Big shout out to Nick Gillard, stunt coordinator of the prequels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I finished.
Oh, yeah.
I finished Revenge of the Sith, and I was like, well, okay, that's done. And I just quit consuming Star Wars for a long time.
I think a lot of people did, honestly. There was a lot of people that were.
I would watch them with my daughter, my oldest daughter. She was growing up, but I just really wasn't into it. And then when my youngest daughter was born, 2001, then we started watching them together as she was growing up, and then I started warming up to them more and more. And then when The Force Awakens came out, like I said, a shot of adrenaline and just set everything on fire again. And from there on, I've just been Star Wars crazy.
Yeah, I have a similar situation there where like I was always a Star Wars fan as a kid, but I never was huge into lore or really anything. And Force Awakens was coming out, and I was like, I saw the trailer and I was like, whoa. I was like, I gotta watch this. So I would sleep over at my friend's house, and we watched them all like in a whole week straight. And that's when I was like, okay, Star Wars is for me. Like this is a thing that like I want to get into. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
Definitely 2015 it reignited a lot of passion, I think, for a majority of people for Star Wars. So.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me because despite what Yoda says, unlearn what you have learned. Once you have all the Star Wars information in your head, you can't go back and view your like previous experiences and not think about it. So I don't know when it was that I got like really into it, because it's a weird thing because I'm growing up watching Clone Wars, and Clone Wars for most Star Wars fans, I'm like talking about it with an adult, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love Cad Bane and Turk Falso, the Weegway and Hondo, and they're like, who are you like? What are you talking about? Like I know Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. It's like, is that deep? Like did that become deep stuff and sort of engaging in that? And then by the time there was new stuff coming out, I'd already I was big, and I was obviously huge into like the action figures, and Hasbro was selling comic books with action figures at one point, and so I was sort of exposed to Legends material then, and then there was video games. So it was all sort of in the periphery, but for me it was really the Last Jedi that crystallized. Like I was sitting in that theater like, oh my god, I gotta go. I want to read I gotta get everything. Like I need to go deep, because that was right when Thrawn was coming out too.
Turning back.
And Thrawn was like a big deal, and Thrawn was coming back in Rebels, and here's the new novel, and I was like, I just gotta get it all. I was like, I just need to read it. I gotta go. And that's sort of when I went back, and now I've gone back through lots of Legends and canon, and so I think it was that. So that was the summer, but
pretty similar to me, because I always obviously have been I'm pretty invested in the lore and stuff like that. And I remember there was this kind of hiatus, but like after, like maybe
Yeah, but at the
midway through
same time,
season.
right? We can't imagine a point in our lives where Star Wars wasn't.
Right, that's true. Yeah,
Oh, it's true, it's true.
I'll
So
always. Oh, yeah, that's very true. Very true. Always thinking about Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah. Rebel. I think when Rebels came out, I watched the first season, then I kind of fell off it. Obviously, I've rewatched it now, but I think being between there, that was kind of where I was like, eh. But yeah, then Force Awakens, and I was like, oh, okay, this is great. So
Yeah,
I
but
was
it's
back in it.
interesting how everybody's story is a little bit different. One of
Yeah.
my best friends, he was huge into lore. He has every novel. He collected all kinds of like cosplay stuff. He's got armor. He's got swords. He's got everything. And when they killed Chewbacca, he stopped. I mean,
hit by a moon.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh,
like
By the
he
Yuzong
just
Vong, yeah.
done. And he got mad. He threw that book away and and went cold hiatus. So he refused to watch the Clone Wars. He refused to watch Rebels. I drug him to go see Force Awakens with me, and he's like, "Ah, it was pretty good." And then Last Jedi, he's like, or he's a little bit grumpy on that one.
Yeah.
But and
At least Chewbacca was alive.
yeah, Chewbacca was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he
So
must
it
have
was-
hated the Rise of Skywalker for about 2 minutes there when they
Yeah,
thought he was dead.
Well, I knew there's no way you can kill Chewbacca or
Right.
my buddy's gone, right? So
yeah, he'll walk out.
like, yeah, and,
I think people would have honestly walked out of the theater if that was was real.
oh,
You know,
it would have
it's
been
not a fake
terrible.
out, but
I just talked him in to start watching the Clone Wars a couple of months ago.
wow.
Like he's
Nice.
just now going back to watch it, and I begged him, dude, you have, because he started watching The Mandalorian. He loves The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Mando was a huge moment for like even general audiences. Like now they wanted to be like, what's the Clone Wars? Like who was Ahsoka? I mean, like
Right.
nobody.
well, that's it.
Bo-Katan,
He
like,
had
yeah,
no
yeah,
idea who
yeah.
Ahsoka was.
Right.
And I'm like, you are the
Watch
most
the Clone
nerdy
Wars.
Star Wars guy I know, and why won't you watch it? Like, how can you not know Ahsoka? Shame.
I think it's a turnoff for animated things. I think a lot of people don't.
Well, he was just
Yeah.
shut off by
That
killing,
too, right?
killing Chewbacca. He refused.
Yeah.
And
That's a good
so
story.
now he's getting
Yeah.
back into it. He's just finished season 4. I'm like,
Nice.
you're getting into the great
Good
stuff.
stuff.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there.
That's
Oh,
where it starts to take the turn, because I can
wish I could-
understand like
oh.
people that are already apprehensive and they go into like the first half of season 1. I mean, there's some great arcs and episodes in there, but there's a lot for people that are like they're skeptics of it, and they're like, this is for kids, and it's like, yeah, you know what, there is a little bit of that.
Yeah, and he's
For sure.
already ticked off. He's like, grumpy,
Right.
and
Exactly.
you get in
Hey.
there and it's like, oh, that's not.
Well, if he can do it, then I have a lot of faith in people that won't watch it. So.
Yeah, so he's coming along, and once you see Ahsoka there in season 2,
Mhm.
I was like, dude, you have to go watch it now. I'm going to come over to your house and like force you to watch it if you don't, like, because
Yeah.
now you know who she is a little bit, but you don't know who she is. You've got to go back.
I think the portrayal of Mando is a little different than what we see in Clone Wars for sure. So
Well, it's more akin to
obviously
Rebels.
yeah, and it's obviously a progression of her character in the Clone Wars leading up to and then Rebels and then in Mando. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely should go back. But
But
yeah,
it's interesting what like you were talking about how dry spells for fans
Mhm.
and what turns the people off and what got them engaged, and my own experience and my friends' experience, your guys' experience, it's all a little bit different, but
yeah,
and what got us re-engaged, right? So for many people, what got them re-engaged was Clone Wars, and they just absolutely adore it, and they have mixed feelings about Rebels. For some of us, it's the sequels. It got us re-engaged and really, really hyped, and that's where I am.
yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
funny you said
'cause-
that about Rebels. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Jim.
good. No, good.
I was gonna make a point. It's funny you say that about Rebels season 1, because having just rewatched it this year, I think Rebels season 1, because I also didn't really take a liking to the show when it was airing. I would like
Yeah.
watch it intermittently, but by the time Thrawn was around and there was that whole big reveal of Thrawn, like I was watching it then, but like I
was
didn't
there
really.
too.
It was like I was like season 1, 2, and whatever. But going back and watching it, I think it has aged really well. Like Clone Wars, where there are sometimes, in terms of the quality of the way it was made, like visual inconsistencies, and obviously the
Right.
animation greatly improves by the end.
There's some
Rebels through and
shots.
through. It looks like you're looking at a Ralph McQuarrie painting, and I just love that. For me,
But yeah,
just-
I mean that show I think took the most inspiration from his art. So
and I'm also just a big Kanan Jarrus fan. So
yeah, Kanan is great.
I
Kanan's
love-
great. I really like
Yeah,
the Grand
Kanan's
Inquisitor.
awesome.
The Grand Inquisitor
He's
is
cool
is
too.
really
Yeah.
cool. I hope I really want him to pop up in something like Kenobi just in live action. I feel like that would just be so cool. Because
it
we're
might
getting
work.
some kind of could happen. So it would work.
But you're right, Santa. When you get to season 2 with like the Bendu and stuff, it just really
Yes.
elevates
Mm.
it.
It
Yeah,
does,
Starts
it
to
does.
hit. Yeah.
So you mentioned something interesting. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. So
Flip the script.
yeah, you talk about how, and I agree with you. Clone Wars has ups and downs. There's some arcs in there that are not as good. So we've talked about our favorite. Who's your least favorite Clone Wars character? And I'll throw out mine first.
Okay.
It's Plankton, Gascon.
It's so funny you say that.
That's Johnny's favorite.
Oh, Santa, that kills me. You don't even
Eber
know.
Gascon.
We have an on-running gag
Oh.
that Johnny loves Meeber
Oh,
Gascon.
I
I guess he
can't-
does, but
You know,
Oh.
Plankton's okay in SpongeBob, but we don't need him in Star
we
Wars.
don't need him in
That is-
Star Wars, do
We've
we?
had just two. That's too
Wow.
funny.
Oh man. Oh, Santa, that kills me. I don't
Yeah.
know. My least favorite.
I'd really have to think. Yeah, that's
Yeah, this really isn't an answer to the question, but Hondo is great in the Clone Wars, but I think he's one of my least favorite characters in Rebels. I think they
Hard to
overuse him in Rebels. You'd hardly disagree. Okay. Well,
I love
That-
Hondo.
that came off on the top of my head. You guys go ahead. I'll keep thinking, but
well,
Clone
character that I emotionally dislike is Ponkrell, but I think
Oh,
he's
sure.
a cool character.
Mm.
I'll go Meeber with you there, Santa.
No.
I don't like that
Stop
arc,
this
and I think
Meeber
Meeber's a
hate.
reason I don't love.
Yeah,
the
this is
arc, so
outrageous.
I'll throw Meeber in there.
This is
Oof,
outrageous.
I don't even.
I love it. Levi's trying to think too. Yeah.
You guys like?
I'm
Do I dislike any Star Wars? He put
I don't think
resistance
I-
and fine, so this is gonna be a tough
It's
one for
fine. It's
Levi.
not bad, but it's not good. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
like
I don't think I
not
like
offensive.
dislike any character. I mean, like morally, maybe like just like the things they believe in, but I don't.
I think I got an answer. I think
You got it?
there's-
Okay.
her name is escaping me right now, but in the C3PO R2D2 2-part arc where they go on
Yeah.
their like weird adventure underground,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in an underground on the planet with Wolf and
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's like a fairy lady down there.
Yeah.
I think she's kind
Mhm.
of weird. I remember as a kid being like, I was tuning, I'm watching it weekly, and I'm like, I just saw the Mon Calamari arc, and it's Umbara. I'm like, oh my god, this show's crazy. And then I'm watching that. I'm like, what am I watching? It's like as a young kid, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Han
a weird
Solo's
That one.
Not Han
That,
Solo.
that one. I think I agree with too, Levi.
It's a weird one.
Jabba's son. Jabba's son. Not
No,
a
I
fan.
gotta love Rhoda.
Stinky.
Not a fan of Rhoda. Stinky,
Stinky.
yeah. No, I'm
I
not
like
a fan of him.
I think for the most part though, I think we really, and we were having a discussion.
Oh,
for the
I know
most
who.
part, though.
I don't like Zero.
Zero
Oh,
the
Zero.
Hutt.
I don't like Zero.
Zero's
Yeah,
awesome, man. What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't like Zero. That's
Okay.
That's who.
Zero is a
my
strange
answer.
character.
Great
Two
answer.
Meebers though on this panel. Two Meebers.
I know.
That-
I
that
don't
hurts.
like
Double
that.
Meeber hate, man.
It's
I want the
Steven
Meeber
Stanton.
merch. I need.
He
Meeber
does.
act-
That guy is the voice of like Tarkin and
I know.
Obi-Wan and like.
Well, you
And
need the
Bieber.
merch. Just go get you some SpongeBob stuff, and you can just,
He's great
make
in the
custom-
Bikini Bottom,
Custom. Yeah.
but he doesn't
Will
fit in a
Meeber
galaxy
Gascon
far,
return
far
in
away.
the Bad Batch? Will we?
Top 10 things I want. That's number one on the list. Meeber
Yeah,
Gascon.
Meeber Gascon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I won't fight you on it, but I'm hurt. I'm hurt, but
That's funny, Santa. You flipped the script and
yeah.
That was
took me by
fun.
surprise.
I had a feeling you were about to pull Meeber on us. I was like, oh, he's about to hit us with some Meeber hate.
This is kind of I guess this is kind of off question, but it's kind of staying in brand. I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the holiday special because you probably would have saw it the first time it came out, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You love it.
Well, I mean, at the time, no.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It is one of the most bizarre things a human
Yeah.
being
It
can
is super
watch.
bizarre.
It is crazy.
But those characters, like those actors, I know. right? They were in other like sitcoms and
I'm sorry to cut you off. I cannot stand watching B. Arthur pour liquid into that guy's head. It is like the most foul thing I have ever seen.
Yeah, Dylan and I watched it together, and we made a video on the channel, and we were just miserable by the end of it.
That was the best part when they were in Mos Eisley. Or they were in the cantina. That is gross.
Head.
But
yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
But I kind of liked. So I used to watch like the Electric Company.
I love Electric Company.
And they had those Spider-Man cartoons.
I was just about to say that, the Spider-Man.
And I love those. So for me, when I watched the holiday special, it was the Boba Fett cartoon part of it, right? That was my
favorite part too. Yeah. I mean, like, I think some of the animation was weird. I think Han especially like looked very odd.
Very odd.
I agree. I think that was that was probably my favorite part of it. Yeah.
You know, a funny Electric Company story, because my parents had me watching Electric Company growing up, and like when I would go to school and like try to talk about with the other, like I thought it was a current show, and I'd be like, "Yeah, you catch the Electric Company last night?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No.
I'm like, Electric
SpongeBob,
Company.
Man.
Yeah, I have memories of watching that as a kid too.
I love Electric Company.
Yeah,
I love like the silhouettes where they're both saying words and then they combine.
Yeah,
it's great stuff.
I think of the Family Guy one they had. I don't know. I just started to think about that. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but they do a joke about.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. Do we want to do the
tier list it up?
No more questions. We have no more questions.
If you guys, what do you guys want to do? I sorry, just like.
Oh well, I did want to ask. Maybe off air, but I'll ask it here. What has it been like being like a real Santa? Like a mall. I don't know where you operate exactly, a mall Santa, store Santa, but like
so
be something.
I live in Central Ohio, and Cabela's is where I do a lot of it. So I've heard of Bass Pro or Cabela's.
We got one around here. Yeah,
I see hundreds of kids every day there during the season. It is fantastic to be Santa Claus. It's something that I was called to later. I didn't ever plan to be Santa Claus growing up. I was a bit of an introvert.
That'd be interesting. Like, what do you want to be Santa?
I wasn't
want to be
popular,
Santa.
wasn't really well liked, but what it's allowed me to do is to bring a little bit of brightness and joy to people, even adults. Like, there are people who are in on it, right? They know what's going on, and I get people who are Jewish faith or Muslim, folks who are not at all into the tradition, but it brings a little happiness and joy to them as well. And just to see the smiles that bring on those families' faces is tremendously rewarding. It's a ton of fun. And I've got some great stories. I won't share all of them here, but there's some really, really good stories from kids. I'll tell you, my favorite one from this past season is Santa. You always ask what the kid wants for Christmas. And asked this little girl, and of course we're in COVID and everything's distanced and all that. And I asked her what she wants for Christmas, and she said canned spaghetti. I was like, oh, what? She canned spaghetti. I was like, oh, okay. And her mom says, and like, this is like a 7-year-old girl, right? And her mom says, don't you want a Barbie a house? She goes, yeah, Mom, that'd be great. But what I really want is canned spaghetti. She was super like animated and on it. So like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, something like that, I get a online call. So we were doing virtual visits as well. And I got a virtual visit, and here's this girl. And so I'm absolutely certain her mom wanted her to tell Santa what she wanted. And so we give you one more chance. So I get on there, I visit with her, and then I ask her, what do you want for Christmas? And she says, canned spaghetti. Like, well, your answer has never changed. So I'm sure that you get a whole crate of canned spaghetti. That'll be great.
Yeah, I hope she got some canned spaghetti.
Oh my God, I love that.
The just so our viewers know, the infamous trombone is beginning again. So
oh no, it's not staged.
It's not staged. It's real. The trombone is real. I swear.
There's a whole conspiracy behind it. Yeah.
So here you go. I was a professional trombone player when I got out of college. So I got a full tuition Foundation scholarship music to
That's amazing.
trombone.
Wow.
That's
And
awesome. Wow.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
then
Well,
I was a trombone player in the U.S. Army band.
How about
Awesome.
that? That's
not
so
to dig
awesome.
it up, but I'm sure you saw the stream. Was his roommate any good?
He's practicing for a reason.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you'll have to tell
Yeah,
him
tell him
yeah.
that.
All right.
Santa just
Okay.
said you need to. Yeah.
Bring up the tier list. Bring up the tier list.
Let's
Yeah,
get it
alright.
up.
Let's
Let's
bring
get
it
it
up.
up.
Bring it up. All
So
right,
Santa.
oh,
You
got
can
it.
take it.
I'll take it.
all right.
I'll
All right,
take
hold
it.
on. It's coming up.
So
One sec.
Santa,
We need a wheel.
we've
We
been-
need a wheel.
We've came up with this idea every time we have a new guest on.
Ooh, look at that awful kid.
We made a list, a kind of a combination of all our kind of rankings of the movies. So you'll see it here. That is Star Wars only who put the Clone Wars movie in awful. That is Star Wars only.
Yeah.
So,
So each time we have a
each
guest
person-
on,
yeah,
they get to change one thing about
change
the
one
list.
thing.
And
And
Okay.
so you can move it. You can move down, up, wherever you want.
Over,
You can put it in
yeah,
front of
left, right,
something.
like
and
yeah.
Star Wars
Wherever
only
you want.
moved Clone
Well,
Wars movie to awful.
Star
Well,
Wars
here you
only
go.
did that.
I'm gonna move Rogue One to fine.
Okay. Before or after
Before-
Resistance?
Before.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Rogue One
Ooh,
down to
a man
fine,
after
all
my
right.
own
Rogue
Down
One
to
down
fine.
to fine.
That
All
one
right.
hits.
Rogue One doesn't have a lot of rewatchability for me. Like I've watched it once, and then after that, I just don't care. So, like the best part of it is the last. So you can just go watch the last
third
part.
act,
But as
yeah.
a movie,
Go
I'm
look
just
it up
like,
on YouTube.
eh,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right.
I'm right there with you, Santa. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
That-
fair. Yeah,
that-
I agree with that too. So
Our list gets more and more bizarre each week.
I know.
Yeah.
Each
So
week.
It's gonna
Rogue
be,
One
it's
is
gonna be
moved from
so
great
weird
to
after we
fine.
have like a good amount of guests on. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, all
I don't
different
know what it's
perspectives.
gonna
That's
look
kind of
like.
why we're doing it. We get
Yeah.
like all these different perspectives, and it just
Oh,
vomit
okay.
of Star Wars opinions.
So all
This
right,
is-
well,
I'll save
Rogue
that
One.
one.
You want to spin the wheel for the outro?
Oh, you wanna do
Yeah,
that?
sure.
Yeah.
Outro wheel.
Oh.
Here we go. Here we go.
There you go.
Looking like Levi.
Oh.
Wait.
Ooh.
It's
Oh,
Levi.
it's me.
Dang
Well,
it. All right.
thank
Well,
you
Levi it is.
guys so much for watching this
close out of it.
wonderful interview with Star Wars only. Oh, god dang. Well, you know what?
Whoa.
Oh, what? That was.
I was thinking of the
Levi.
trombone started to play, and I was thinking
Oh.
about the trombone, and then I think about
It's all the
list.
trombone.
I ballsed it up. Oh man.
All right, from the top.
Thank
Oh.
you guys for watching this wonderful interview we just had with Star Wars Santa. We will be putting his links in the description. You know, go check him out. He has some great content. I think that matches with our own message of positivity, and it's always fun to talk Star Wars with other fans. But yeah, I think this has been a great time. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it was
this
awesome.
this is great.
You
Thank you,
can
so
feel
much
the
for coming
Christmas
on.
joy in the air every time
Yes.
Star Wars Santa speaks, and we'd love to
Little,
have
little,
him on our
little
stuff
early,
again.
little early. It's not, but
Hey.
You know what? I had
Yeah.
a great time. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun, guys.
thank you.
Yeah, we're
Thank
glad
you.
we could talk some Star Wars
we're
with
glad. We're glad. We're happy. Yeah. Thank you.
Make
Yeah,
sure-
again, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. a
Make
lot.
sure to subscribe and smash the like button. As
And
we
to
Smash
Star
it.
Wars Santa
Just
too.
smash it.
Yeah.
and Star
Yeah.
Wars Santa.
All the
and to
links will
everybody.
be in the description. So
you. And everyone. All right.
It's been an
Any
excellent
channel you see, just hit 'em
Excellent outro. Really smooth.